What up, everyone? Can I admit something that still makes me like cringe? I'm a person who's built databases, written like authentication workflows, and I once even explained OAuth to a toddler with Hot Wheels and crayons. And yesterday I gave full access of my Gmail account to a scammer. Yeah, it wasn't like the standard like Nigerian prince ones either. It was sophisticated. It was a targeted spear phishing attack over the phone, and it was slick. The setup was like it started out with a call, right? And it was supposedly from Google support. And like I know, never trust a call from Google support or some support person that just calls you out of the blue and you didn't initiate the call. I mocked people for that before, like, but like this guy was smooth. He was like too smooth. He had already paved the way for his success by sending out emails before he made the call. And the emails looked legit. Like when he guided me over to the app, the Gmail app, and showed his name, it showed that it was from Google, and it looked pretty legit as far as like the graphics treatments and everything, and all that's well and good because that's all like what's phishing attempts and stuff have anyway. And it didn't look perfect, but it looked like really, really close, and it didn't have anything, more importantly, that didn't look particularly believable. So, like, spoiler, it was obviously a forgery. And we can get back to this in a minute because I'm going to show you what it looked like so you can actually see what this scam actually looks like when it comes through. And you can see how legit it actually looks, both on mobile, and then we'll look at it on desktop as well. So, comes in, has the legit looking email. It says his name. It's got a case number on there. If I'm thinking back on it, I'm thinking, okay, why wasn't there a link to a ticket system? But instead, there's not a link to a ticket system. It's just a code that goes nowhere, so you can't actually track it back. But he had that backstory covered too, because he's like, here's my phone number. You're going to be able to call me back on this with this case number anytime, and, blah. All right, so moving on. I'm in the email, I check it, everything looks legit. And he says, they're in your account trying to change your phone number so that they can gain access to your account. Since the data breach, we've been monitoring these kind of actions, and we flagged it, and that's why we're working with you now to try to change the access token. So all that's like a bunch of tech jargon, but I'm a tech person, so I'm soaking this stuff up, and he has to know that based on like everything that they're able to steal beforehand. And so I'm like, what access token are we talking about? Because I'm a total rube for jargon, right? And he's like, well, we just need to rotate this 24 character access token associated to your account, and that's how they're getting in. That's how they're downloading all your stuff. And I'm like, what is this 24 character token? And I'm like fixated on the details of how many characters is associated with this token that's supposedly allowing people to just backdoor access to my account and download all the stuff. Quickly, I Google some stuff, and it turns out that there's a case back in January where some security researcher came up with a way for OAuth, authenticated applications that have like gone out of business, to be used with those credentials that were linked up to your account to download all that information, and then that was some sort of security exploit. So I'm thinking like it's off, but it's technically potentially feasible. Like nothing's out of the blue completely wrong about this, other than the fact that they're coming up with this like made up token thing, which just sounds completely wrong. But from a developer's perspective, you're used to dealing with tokens that you're sending back and forth all the time for access. So plausible, but still improbable, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, why does this token exist? Like, I didn't grant this. Did I grant this? I'm developing stuff all the time. Maybe I did something in the past. Like, how do I kill it with fire? And he's like, well, we're going to change it, but if you wanted us to just delete it, we can delete it. Oh, okay. So now he's doing something for me. And so he says, like, all right, you're going to get a Google auth prompt, and you just need to go ahead and approve it to revoke, so we can revoke the access and change the token around and all that. And I'm like sweating at this point. I'm like, no shot that this is legit. I shouldn't push this button. And I'm second guessing, and I'm looking at the email, and I'm scanning through it, and I'm looking at the follow-up emails, and the follow-up emails are all from legit requests that they're sending from a Google account, from Google site. It's all legit, and it's completely legit because they've used the data breach. They have stolen access to my username and my password, all the details that are associated with me as an individual, like, gender, age, name, the whole nine, right? Like, he calls me up on the phone and is like, this is Jeffrey Gilbert, right? Yeah. And goes through the whole nine, right? Already knows how my accounts are connected to different things. That's part of why this is a spear phishing attack, is because they knew I had a crypto account on Coinbase, and so they're looking for that easy payday win from Coinbase. Bitcoin's at an all-time high. I could have millions of dollars in there. They don't know. But they're looking for that. They're looking for it quick. And so sends me the request. Everything looks legit. They've guided me to Gmail, and I'm looking at the Gmail app, and it all looks legit. The names and everything look legit on there. And just a moment of panic and uncertainty about the state of my account as somebody who's had, I'm a victim of identity theft already, which wasn't even my fault. It was just people opening up stuff in my name with stolen data that they got from buying it off the, data brokers and black market, and from stolen sites and data breaches. I've already had stuff like this happen. So I'm just like, oh man. And they know that. They feast on this. They feast on this stuff. The fear and the uncertainty and the confusion that they can spin up by just keeping things in a fast pace. So I did it. I granted access. I hit yes. He told me what the number was that I was going to see before I saw it, which was like a magician's sleight of hand trick. Because of course he knew what it was, because you see it in the request. So but in your mind, you're overwhelmed with all this data. Your mind is just like, oh yeah, this seems legit because he's telling me step by step what to do, and he knows the exact number that's going to pop up that he's going to say, yeah, of course they do. It's part of the authentication process. I just wasn't moving slow enough in it. I wasn't being patient enough. Apparently, I'm the kind of person who builds authentication flows and then approves them for total strangers so they can just log in. So if someone tells you to approve a multi-factor authentication request through a phone or email or some other device or whatever that you've got connected, and you didn't initiate the request, you're not protecting anything by accepting it, You're like the bouncer waving in the middle schooler with the fake mustache and the ID that says McLovin on it. You're not doing a good job. So, like, red flag moment number 2 is the email comes in again from an address that says help at Google. It doesn't say help at google.com. It just says help at Google. So this is the only thing on the email that actually gave me pause at all. But in my mind, I'm like rationalizing these things because what he's telling me is disagreeing with things, but not in a completely unbelievable way. You see, Google owns the top level domain .google. So they can make a site that's like ai.google, fun.google. Or maybe they just want to email you help at Google. And hell, they own Gmail. If they wanted to make an email address that was specific to sending something from Google, which seems like an impossible email address, they could just do that, right? It's their app. Stupid. It was a moment of stupidity. It was the one thing that got me about this whole thing is I convinced myself that that was legit. It obviously is not legit. But like that Gmail app is pared down. It's like a cut down version of what the desktop experience is, and that mobile app is really where confidence goes to die. I mean, it just is. So, red flag moment number 3. He says, wait 45 minutes before you change your password. This Python script needs time to revoke the token and change it. All that stuff. My brain's like, Python. Like Google uses Python. I guess that makes sense. A script, I guess that could take time. Run a lot of background scripts. You know what else takes 45 minutes? Downloading your entire Gmail history, Google Drive, contacts, every 2-factor backup code that you've ever received, like photos and contact lists and But I got off that phone call, and as soon as I hung up, I was like, no, I'm an idiot. I've been finessed. This is totally wrong. So I immediately changed my password, and then I wait for a callback, because I just wait for a callback. I mean, I just know how scammers operate. They can't leave well enough alone, especially if something gets cut off in the middle of them trying to, jerk your chain, steal all your stuff, whatever. They'll come back. And sure enough, I do get a phone call back. So we're having our second conversation. It's red flag moment, like number 4, right? If we're keeping count. I start complaining about this email that I got earlier in the day that was an obvious phishing thing, but it wasn't completely obvious. Like, it was really clever. It came in from Apple at email.apple.com. You see, what the scam was there is they had figured out a way, the scammers, to email, like blind copy email someone who is not the person who made like a transaction, right? And it would send an email to you, even though your email address isn't in the email headers or whatever, to say like from to, you're not in there anywhere. Blind copy. If you never used it, that's how it works. And I don't see my name there, and I know I'm not supposed to be on this list, but it says that basically, here's the scam of it. They made a really expensive purchase in the App Store, and they made it with the account name, like the actual, like, my name's Jeffrey, it would say, instead of Jeffrey, it says, your account name says, to cancel, call this number. And that's obviously the scam number. You call that, and then they would talk you out of your soul. So I recognize that, and I'm explaining it to him, that I saw this email that looked completely legit. And he says, without, hesitation, oh, I talked to my boss about that email that you sent. And it looks totally like a scam. It's definitely a scam. Like, we can tell. I'm like, okay, well, how can you tell? Because it came legitimately from Apple. All the links on it are Apple. Everything's on Apple. I talked to my boss. Here's the thing, though. We never broke conversation for a second. Like, he never had a chance to talk to his boss. It was just like a made-up scenario that he was going through. And as you're going through it, like, I get through the whole thing, and then, this is where red flag number, what are we on, 5? Red flag number 5 comes up. They're definitely just after your crypto. My 6-year-old comes in. He's whining, complaining, trying to get my attention, doing all the things that 6-year-olds do. He's just gotten home from school, and he's making a ruckus. And, in that distraction and everything, that's where the guy's like, hey, I can assure you they're just after your crypto. And then he hangs up. Now, it seemed wrong, because, like, if you're a truly support person, you're not just going to hang up on somebody like that. But I could rationalize it because of the noise of my child in the room taking the wind out of the room, even though I was in a very serious conversation with this person and explaining, like, hey, dad's got to do some other stuff. It just distracted my focus wasn't on it. I had other things going on in life, and that's the sweet spot. They just need to get one person in that moment. They got you. But, like, crypto, is a Google support person really going to be like, oh yeah, he's definitely after your crypto? No, they're not. So, like, my spidey senses were tingling. They were still tingling. They were on fire. In fact, even after I changed my passwords, changed a whole bunch of authenticator things, like, swept around a whole bunch of stuff that night, because I just had this uneasy feeling about it. I didn't go through and exhaustively do a whole lot, and I slept on it, and I woke up and I felt miserable about this whole thing. Just miserable. Like, there's just got to be something wrong with this scenario. I'm totally a fool here. So, in this whole situation, last red flag that you really should know about is that speed is a weapon for these guys. The whole conversation, the tempo was high. Open the Gmail mobile app. That is a guided instruction. He didn't say go, just open your Gmail. It was specific, like, go on your Gmail mobile app. Because he knew that was the vector of attack that was going to work for him. See the support request that came in for me? That's from Google. That proves that I'm legit. Like, of course he's going to say those things, but it was already there, ready for me. And approve this simple request, like, and then we'll just revoke access. We'll take care of that problem for you right away. That's your request. We're just going to honor your request. That's just what you asked me to do. And I'm going to disconnect this call, and I'll call you back later. 45 minutes will pass. I just texted you a new password, which he did, which was ridiculous. It was Google 2025 ! Google would never do that. Like, they would never just send. I mean, you could almost imagine a lazy support person who had a lot of stuff on their plate would do that potentially, but also, why would they send me back a password? It also doesn't make sense, because then that gives me the ability to just use that password to change the password again and lock them out. I don't know. It was plausible. Like, they didn't have to do that, but they did it anyway. I don't know, maybe to hold access on the account for as long as possible. I don't know. I don't understand. I still don't know exactly everything that they stole or the full, scope of just exactly how owned I am in this grand scheme. I know I'm owned. Like, feel free to make fun of me, but I got there. It just took me a day. If I could describe it, I'd say it felt like I'm in a heist movie, except I'm not the hacker. I'm the vault, and I'm holding the door open while they just loot everything. I mean, if you're feeling like you're in a high-speed transaction, something's moving faster than you can figure it out, pause, reflect, panic appropriately as you need to, but like, try to do the task yourself. It's tempting, if you're not like tech savvy, to just grant someone access who sounds like they're legit and they deserve access. But this is not Geek Squad, and we are living in dangerous times right now, and that is proof by the 16 billion people that had their credentials stolen from major sites. We're talking Apple, Google, Microsoft, like Coinbase, Gemini, another crypto exchange, like major account institutions and security institutions, financial institutions had massive data breach. Your usernames, your passwords, they're out there. It's one of the reasons I hate usernames and passwords. At least if I have to use them, I count on those institutions being secure, and that's not the case. It just isn't the case. Go out, rotate those passwords immediately, change those things. Your credentials are stolen. If you don't believe me, I've got sources for you. Just having a conversation with these folks is enough to lose access to something that you need. They can train AI models on your voice and then get on tech support calls. And those tech support calls sound like they're coming from you. And the AI, because it's an AI that can process what people are saying and that it can listen and then respond in your voice. That's dangerous. It's just a dangerous time to be alive and on the internet. And they have every detail about you now. Because these data brokers and data lakes behind the scenes are accumulating all of this information about us constantly. Our name, our address, our age, our phone number, everything that we shop online, with all the sites that we're connected to. All of that stuff is collected and sold and resold over and over again between multiple sites, and people can have it. That's how they process elections for the Republicans and the Democrats, why they're always like, they just know all the stuff about you and they're able to micro target just to your specific interests. It's just out there and you can just buy it. And so you take that and then you take passwords and credentials and all the stuff that they're able to get off the black market, and you just have a full profile of who a person is, and you don't even have to try that hard to finesse them. So how can you check to see if you've, been part of these data breaches? And newsflash, you have. Like, it just is the reality of the world that we live in today. But how can you check, like, more recently? If you're using Safari, Apple, Mac, whatever, you can go to Password Manager. Password Manager, right on there, it shows you a little, security alerts that is associated with all your passwords. I just had to go through this and click on those, and anything that said it was compromised, go through, change them if they're important. If they're not, who cares, I guess. But what's important, what's not important. And then If you're using Google Chrome, it's also got a Google Password Manager. You can go on there, check that out. It'll show you what's compromised. They're running cross checks. Or if you have neither of those, or you just don't know how to get there, go to Have I Been Pwned, PWNED.com. Have I been pwned? Put in your username or your email address or your password in there. It does not keep a track record of what these actual passwords and username matches are in its system, but it can do a lookup to see if that password has been part of a data breach, or that username or email address has been part of a data breach that they have data on. But it doesn't keep any of the secure credentials, if that makes any sense. So you can also just put a password in there without a matching criteria, and because it doesn't have a username, it's not really going to be. Anyway, they're not trying to game you for your password. This is just to basically see whether or not your password was part of a data breach. And then it'll come up with all the list of things that are associated with that data breach. Not in like super finite detail, because they don't want to give that as a vector of people to go out and try to, hack you or whatever, but great resource. Change your passwords on all these major sites. The Apples, the Microsoft. I know it's a pain. I just had to live through it. 16 billion of you are out there. And it's just an inevitability that you're going to get a phone call or a phishing email that's going to work at some point. Change those passwords. Let's get past this data breach as best as we can. Turn on two-factor authentication. Use a password manager, not like a spreadsheet in Google or Google Sheets or whatever named passwords. Please don't do that. But I know people have post-it note systems. I'm guilty of it sometimes too, just writing something in a text pad. So the aftermath of this whole thing is, by the time I realized that this has actually happened, it's a day after, right? They for sure have downloaded all my emails, all my docs, all my notes, all my chat history in Gmail, copied my contacts to spam those guys as well, from email addresses that are impersonating me, stole my two-factor authenticator app codes and all my saved passwords. I'm not 100% certain, but I feel reasonably sure that that's true. Downloaded all my photos from, Google Cloud. The worst part of all of it, though, is that I had someone watching me this whole time, struggling with this scenario and looking over me and going, this is a scam, right? And I'm like, nah, babe, trust me, it's fine. He said he's from Google type of a moment. That conversation still hurts. Yeah, she was right. And, just to reiterate why this worked on me, even a technical person, is I just read about the security breaches with all of the 16 billion records. I knew it's fresh in my mind. They have a detailed background of who I am. They have legit looking details that are coming from these breaches. And they're using real jargon that I would understand, because they're speaking, to me as they know me as a technical person. They understand what the process is of multi-factor authentication, and they understand how Gmail's UI is actually flawed on the mobile app. they hit me with urgency and pressure, given this elevated sense of concern that they were able to tap into due to the data breaches and due to like manufacturing this immediate issue that needed to get resolved about people already on my account trying to steal access to my account and lock me out of it. And the guy just sounded like a normal person. He sounded like a busy support guy. He was not talking with like a cartoonish accent. Honestly, it was just like a masterclass in social engineering, and it happened super fast. So now I'm going to show you exactly what this request looks like. This phishing attempt looks like. And hopefully you can see what kind of like my side of it was when I'm going through this. So I get an email that comes in, and I've got, it all looks normal. Again, they've got a reference number, ticket number, the person's email. It's, we'll never request sensitive personal information from you. They already know what my password is, so they don't have to ask. So that's why they would put something like this on here. Now, I've already flagged this as a phishing email, so it's going to show up as spam in here, which makes it look like, duh, it's spam. Why did you do it? It doesn't show up like that if it's not marked as spam beforehand. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like behind the scenes. So help@Google is the email address it comes in as. And when you click to look on the mobile app, this is something I'm going to say Gmail, Google. This probably will never reach you and the heights of your, kingdom. But if somebody there actually sees this, this is a flaw in your app. Help@Google is absolutely not the same information that you showcase on your desktop app. So if I'm looking side-by-side comparison here, what we get on the desktop experience is help@Google via service-google.com. Hold up. If you would have given me that information on the mobile experience, like, this is a different conversation. This guy gets hung up on and I laugh. It's missing. It's not there. You've got to reply to, whatever. I don't care. It does point to support@google.com. It looks and adds legitimacy to the look of the whole thing. But right here, help@Google, and then what? Because you've got something on here that I just don't have access to even see in the mobile app. That's bogus. Service-google.com doesn't work on me, because I see that domain and immediately I go look that up. So let's just do that real quick, because here's another trick. We go to whois.com, and then we click on the Whois tab. I'm going to type in here. I'll make this smaller so you can see. Service-google.com, right? That's the domain. Look that up. Registered about a month ago. Screams scam. And if we look up more information about the registrar here, it's from some Swedish organization that it's obscured by. Also scream scam. Like, Google doesn't do that. And they definitely don't spin things up a month before they start using them. Please. So immediately I know that this is just a domain that is so brand new that it has not showed up on the phishing radar. And that's what you can do, is just look at the registered on date and see how new it is, because they're using new ones all the time. These things get flagged, they get taken down, they got to rotate through them. Somebody had a really good one. It's service-google.com. That's a pretty legit fake, but it's fake. So that's what I'm looking at. And if you see that, okay, this is bogus. So here it shows you completely what it is. It's the name is notification, the email address is help@Google, but it's via service-google.com. So they were able to do some sort of spoofing to make this actually go through. And this part, this via service-google.com, that part right there doesn't show up on mobile, and that is a critical flaw, and I believe that's an exploit on Google's part that they should absolutely fix on the Gmail app, because I'm certain that technically savvy people are being taken advantage of. It's happening. So, takeaways. Quick burn down list. Never approve MFA if you multi-factor authentication if you didn't initiate it. Slow down when things feel too fast. Don't trust the Gmail mobile app. Their UI is bad. Always check the headers on a desktop app if you're in like a pressure situation. That's super important security stuff, because it'll tell you the whole deal. Wait to change your password means like change it immediately. You've made a mistake. And even tech savvy people like myself get duped. Don't feel too bad if it happens to you, but be able to recover, and never underestimate your ability to overestimate yourself. That's a big one. It can happen to anyone. And I'm telling you all this stuff because, it works best when the details are hidden in shame. And, I'm dragging it out into the light for you to see that it can happen to anyone. So, I don't know. Go check your email security, and if you got a spreadsheet somewhere full of passwords, it's time to move forward and change that around. That's where I'll leave that. That's all I got. Stay safe out there, and crush the scammers.